Hey guys, today we're taking a look at the new Neonic Flow Prime X pickleball paddle. This is a new version of Neonic's Flow paddle, so it actually uses the same dimensions. It's a curved hybrid paddle that's 16.25 inches in length, and the width tapers from 7.625 inches down to 7.4 inches. The handle is 5.5 inches, and as of now, the only core thickness option is 16 millimeters. Now with the Flow series, Neonic actually has their own custom mold, so you're not going to see this same paddle shape on other curved hybrid paddles on the market. It's got a more rounded top, and there's a much sharper throat taper here to easily fit both of your hands. Now this shape right here is what's more popular on the market when you think of a curved hybrid paddle, and this is what was made famous by the 6-0 double black diamond, but there's a wider throat taper and the top is a bit flatter. Now with this new mold, Neonic has actually made the paddle quicker than most of the other curved hybrid paddles on the market. For the swing weight, we got 113, which is slightly lower than the average we're seeing for other curved hybrid paddles at the 115 area. However, the paddle is less stable. For the twist weight, we got 6.29, and generally when we see a curved hybrid paddle, it's in that 6.5 area. I think this is likely due to the top being a bit more rounder and because the throat taper is sharper, so there is less weight distributed down here. Now that said, this isn't a pro or a con for this paddle, it's more personal preference. If you like having a faster paddle and like being able to customize it more with weight, then this is a very good option to go with. Especially if you like this sharp throat taper, I think it really helps when you're using shots that use a lot of wrist. So it's definitely faster and more offensive when you're hitting flicks and rolls compared to that double black diamond shape. But again, it is less stable, so you do have your trade-offs, but I do think it's a really nice mold and a good addition to the market. Moving on, let's take a look at the difference between the new Flow Prime X and the original Neonic Flow. So we mentioned this earlier, but the dimensions between the two are actually the same. The construction is actually very similar as well, as they're both Gen 2 thermoform paddles. They're created in that hot mold, they're unibody, and they have the edge foam in the perimeter. The difference with the Flow Prime X is that it has a different surface. While the original Neonic Flow used just carbon fiber, the Flow Prime X now uses carbon fiber and fiberglass. And the other difference is the polypropylene cells. They didn't really mention what the original Neonic Flow used for the polypropylene cell diameter, but they're using a smaller 6mm cell diameter in the Flow Prime X, which makes this a bit more denser. And it's something that you see actually on the Neonic Flare Prime X. So a lot of the changes that they put in the Flare Prime X, they introduce into the Flow Prime X as well. Now with the original Neonic Flow paddle, I consider that all court leaning control, and I would even consider it very close to being a control paddle itself. Now with the Flow Prime X, you are going to get more power and pop, and I would actually classify this maybe a little bit above the all court category. With those changes it's made, it has given it more power and pop, but not to the drastic amount that you see on something like the Flare Prime X. With the Flare, I consider that more of a power paddle, while the Flow Prime X I found does not have the firepower you see on the Flare. To be fair, the Flare is 14mm and the current Flow Prime X is 16mm, but I will say if you're familiar with how the Flare plays, it's very different from how I saw the Flow Prime X to play. But like I said, the Neonic Flow Prime X is more of an all-court style paddle. I would say it's just a step up from the 6-0 double black diamond in terms of firepower, but you're not going to have the power and pop levels of a Thrivazole or even the J2K Pro. The smaller 6mm cell core gives the paddle more of a denser feel, and I think it's still a paddle that offers great control like the original Flow, but it gets a boost in firepower as well from the fiberglass. I'm curious to see if they come out with a 14mm option, and if that one will have the same feel as the Flare Prime X, as I think that extra power in a hybrid shape will be a very nice addition. But for now, the 16mm Flow Prime X is a very good all-court style paddle that brings more firepower and a denser feel to the original Neonic Flow. While it doesn't have as much power as other paddles like the Olympus, Vatic Sagas, or the Flare Prime X, I do think it's still a solid option to consider, especially at its low price point of $140. I've added my discount code here, and a link on where to buy this paddle in the video description below. But if you are interested in picking one up, it's currently on sale for a very low price of $100 with a discount code.